Okay, can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Okay. Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Laila Akel. I'm a LAMSA ambassador, and today I'm going to talk about sports and mental health to become a stronger you. So first, I want to introduce LAMSA to those who do not know what it is. LAMSA stands for Lebanese Association of Medical Services for Addiction. It's an NGO that's founded by Dr. Zainab Karzel in Lebanon. LAMSA fosters evidence-based medical education of addiction, mental health, co-occurring physical health and well-being issues, while at the same time advocating for the destigmatization of those diseases. You can find our website. You can go to Google, write LAMSA Lebanon, and then you can find our website, and all this information will be present there. Now, the outline for today's webinar, I'm going to start with true or false questions, and I want you guys to be interactive with me. You can unmute yourselves or write in the chat your answer. Then I'm going to talk about the multidisciplinary effect of sports on mental health, academic performance, and aging. Then I'm going to talk about how you can stay disciplined in sports, my personal experience with sports, what can you do if you don't like sports, and is doing sports always healthy? And finally, famous athletes with mental health issues. So first, let's begin our mini game. I'm going to ask you 3 true or false questions. The first question, moving your muscles when doing household chores or leisure activities can be called exercise. Is it true or false?
True.
Okay, so we have 4 true. Yes, the answer is the answer is false. This is called physical activity and not exercise. So I want to differentiate between these 2 terms. Physical activity is any activity that works our muscles and requires energy. Anything like doing household chores or leisure activities with our friends, while exercise is a planned, structured, and repetitive body movement that we do to improve and maintain our physical fitness. And actually, sports is a type of physical activity that we do so that we can enjoy the presence of others or compete and work on ourselves. The second question, doing sports will always improve one's mental health. True or false?
بقى لي قلب جاوب بس
True.
false ما بعرف.
We have 3, 4 false. Yes, the answer is false. Mainly athletes, they struggle with mental health issues because the athletes need to balance classwork, grades, practices, games, and even personal lives, and they might be put under a lot of pressure and stress. The last one, exercise slows the effects of aging. Is it true or false? Have 2 true, 3, 4. Yes, the answer is true. It does slow the aging process of cells. The telomeres are actually tiny caps that are found at the ends of the DNA strands that protect them. And research has shown that exercise for more than 6 months consecutively is associated with changes in the telomere length. Specifically, aerobic exercise slows the decline in the telomere length. So now I'm going to talk about the different effects of sports. Of course, there are much more than these 3 mentioned, but today I chose to talk about these: mental health, academic performance, and aging. First off, I'm going to start with the effect of sports on mental health. Number 1, it helps to moderate stress. When we do sports, chemicals in our bodies called endorphins, they are released, which help relieve pain. Also, the stress hormones, cortisol and adrenaline, are decreased, and thus we experience increased calmness. Number 2, we have improved mood. Once we're doing specific sports, we concentrate on what we are doing and we put all our worries aside. So it helps us to clear our minds, and as a result, we eventually get a better sleep. Number 3, it helps us with depression. Sports has shown to improve the symptoms of depression and even reduce the risk of relapse or getting depression again. Number 4, it helps to boost the mental health, especially in team sports. Research has shown that when we do sports as part of a team rather than individually, it has a greater impact and benefit on our mental health. One research in Australia was done on women who were playing tennis and netball in clubs, and it showed that those who were playing in clubs and as a team had a better mental health than those who played individually. But the physical health, well, there was no significant difference, but the mental health was better in these women. And another study of teenage athletes showed that these athletes reported higher symptoms of anxiety and depression when they were playing sports individually on their own rather than those in groups. Number 5, it helps fight addiction. One study of Norwegian teenagers, it showed that these teenagers who were playing sports, especially in a team, they were less likely to smoke cigarettes and use cannabis. And researchers in Korea, they advocate for the teens to play sports so that they can combat internet addiction, which is a very growing issue nowadays. And finally, sports, it helps to improve other mental health disorders. For example, in schizophrenia, it can help improve loss of motivation and thinking difficulties. Now, the sports effects on academic performance, I chose to talk about 2 studies that I found concerning this topic. One study was done on middle school students in North Carolina County, and it showed that these students who played sports at school, they had positive academic achievement, and they had positive body image and greater self-esteem, which further contributed them to performing better academically. And the second study was actually a systematic review. They reviewed 115 studies that were made worldwide, especially in the US, that involved also middle school students and high school students. And it found that these students who participated in sports during school hours, they reported better academic performance than those who participated in sports outside of school. And they came to the conclusion that doing sports moderately, not too low and not too much sports, it also promoted academic performance in these children. Finally, the effect of sports and aging. Sports, especially in the elderly, it had many beneficial effects. For example, it promotes their balance, prevents falls, improves their physical strength and flexibility, improves their cognitive condition, favors positive attitude, even it works at the vascular level, it decreases arterial stiffness, and it favors social relationships, which is something very important for the well-being of the elderly. Also, as young adults, doing aerobic exercise, it has shown that it can improve focus and help us achieve mindfulness, because once we do this exercise, a lot of blood flow and oxygen reaches our brain, specifically a region known as anterior cingulate cortex. And furthermore, benefit of sports on the long run is that it can help you get rich, because research shows that once we are committed to doing sports or exercise, we become more persistent in the face of work-related difficulties, and we become more likely to engage in competitive situations, which is something we need to stay committed to our work. Now, this is a very important question, and I think a lot of us ask ourselves that, how can I stay disciplined in doing sports? So I chose these 6 points, and I hope they can help you. The first one is you have to identify what you enjoy doing. Because if you're gonna do something that you do not like, you're not gonna stay committed. So do your research, ask around, try. It's a matter of trial and error, and see what do you like the best. Second, set reasonable goals. You cannot start aiming too high once you start doing something new. So start small, and then you can increase your goals furthermore. Number 3, don't think of exercise or physical activity as a chore, because if you think of it as something that you have to do, you're gonna dread doing it. So change the way that you view exercise. You can view it as something that you're doing for your own health, for having an easy easy, like flexibility and something good for the future. So number 4, you have to analyze your barriers. What is the thing that is stopping you from being disciplined to sports? Is it that you're too self-conscious? Maybe you can start doing sports at home until you feel more confident. Is it a matter of money? Like you can do something that's cost-free, like walking. Is it that you need someone to do sports with? Try finding a partner. Number 5, prepare for setbacks and obstacles. Be ready for not being disciplined all the time, because sometimes we get too busy or something happens and we stop doing sports, and that's okay. We can always start again. Each new day is a new beginning for us to come back to sports. And finally, exercising regularly can help improve our self-discipline, and this is something very important for us, a quality we need in all the aspects of our life. It allows us and teaches us how to focus on a task, and thus how to persevere and accomplish our goals. Now I'm going to talk about my personal experience with sports, and it's with track and field. I joined the track and field varsity team at UOB in 2018, and in 2019 I ran my first race ever. It was a 4-kilometer race at the Lebanese University, and then I ran another one at the American University of Beirut, which was 5 kilometers. And then, unfortunately, in 2020, I stopped for a year and a half due to COVID-19 pandemic. And then in 2021, I continued to practice. So I tried to summarize some things that sports has taught me. The most important one is discipline. It taught me how to stay committed, how to manage my time. And this is something I really need because I'm a medical student. So I really need to manage my time, and how to push myself harder. The way that sports has benefited me, it also provided me with a method to de-stress in a healthy way. And this is also something I really need as a medical student, to find something, a healthy way to de-stress and at the same time benefit from. It also allowed me to meet different people from many different majors and ages. It taught me a lot about my body and my abilities, and it even made me feel more confident and stronger in my own body. Now, what can you do if you don't like doing sports? There are a lot of physical activities that you can find online, that you can ask your friends about, and I listed here some of them. You can start small, like by taking the stairs or dancing, and you can even go try hiking, tennis, fencing, and a lot more. And in this way, you would become physically active. Now, the question is, doing sports, is it always healthy? We know that too much of anything, even if that thing was very beneficial, becomes bad. And the same thing applies to sports. Sports can have negative effects on the mental health of specifically more advanced athletes, that we call them elite athletes. These are the athletes who play at regional, national, or even international levels. Some negative effects that sports can have on these athletes is stress. If they are young athletes, maybe they would get too much pressure from their parents or coaches. If they are a bit older athletes, they may start placing pressure on themselves to perform well, and this can lead to burnout, which can negatively affect their performance and thus, again, affect their mental health. Number 2, it can lead to depression, and risk factors for depression include injury, retiring from the sports, and performance expectations. And it's also possible that a lot of cases of depression are underreported in athletes due to the stigma. Number 3, eating disorders, specifically anorexia nervosa and bulimia nervosa, are major problems in sports. And research has shown that 3 types of sports, like long distance running, gymnastics, and ski jumping, they are the most likely to be associated with eating disorders. Elite athletes, they may also be pressured to have the ideal body type for their sports, which further puts them at risk to get an eating disorder. And the study of Norwegian athletes has found that 13.5% of elite athletes had eating disorders, compared to only 4.6% of those in the general population. And finally, I like to talk about something I haven't heard of before, which is the overtraining syndrome. It's basically a decrease in the athlete's performance due to the excessive exercise without getting enough rest, along with mood disorders. And it was first reported in the 1930s. However, till this day, it's difficult to diagnose and to treat because it has a very complex nature and few data is published about it. And there are a lot of hypotheses about the pathogenesis of OTS, and it remains clinical diagnosis with arbitrary definitions. So it's not completely understood, but it exists. Now I want to share with you some famous athletes who have mental health issues. I found a lot of athletes actually, but I just focused on these three for now. There's Serena Williams, who experienced postpartum depression, Ricky Williams, who had social anxiety, and Michael Phelps, who suffered from substance abuse and suicidal thoughts. I finished my presentation, but there were few questions in the online form that you guys asked me, and I'm gonna answer them now. The first one was, how can sports still improve our mental health if switching to a healthy lifestyle may be difficult and may put pressure on us and thus on our mental health? I actually relate to this question, and I would like to answer it from my personal opinion, in that, for example, for me, I try to follow a healthy lifestyle, but I change the way that I view the healthy lifestyle. I don't say to myself, I should be eating healthy all the time, I should be doing sports. I just change the narrative into saying that I want to eat healthy for my body, for my health. So I try to be more lenient with my self-talk. And also I try to be forgiving myself if I don't eat healthy all the time or be active all the time, because sometimes you might get busy or so. So in this way, I am following a healthy lifestyle, but it's not putting pressure on my mental health. The second question was, why did you choose track and field as your sports? That's actually a nice question. First of all, I haven't heard of track and field back when I was at school. So it was something new to me. And once I tried it, I liked it. Second was that it was the least competitive type of sports that I found in the university. So I don't like sports that include a lot of competition. It's more of focused on yourself and your own progress. And actually the practice hours were more convenient than other sports. So that's why I chose it. And finally, someone asked me about sports addiction. And that's why I did 2 slides explaining the concept. Sports addiction is not an independent disorder that you can find in the DSM-5 of the American Psychiatric Association. It often co-occurs with other disorders like eating disorders or substance abuse disorders. So it's very difficult to diagnose, especially in the people who are trying to lose weight or people who do sports or compete as a profession. So how can we define sports addiction? It's basically when the person has this irresistible urge or compulsion to do excessive exercise, regardless of any negative consequences on his or her mental health, physical health, or any other aspects of their life. And the person spends a lot of time thinking about exercise. And research has shown that there are 3 stages in which sports addiction may develop. First, it starts as a hobby, maybe something that we liked from childhood, or the way that we view sports as something very highly. Then it becomes a growing obsession, where we start skipping social events. We become very disappointed when we skip training, or we become preoccupied with how we look. And then we reach the stage of abuse, and this is where sports becomes our top priority in life. We withdraw socially, we exercise almost every day, and we obsess over the food that we eat and the caloric intake. And we might start abusing drugs like steroids to meet our goals. But research also shows that some people may stay in a certain stage longer than others, and some people may even skip stages, depending on how severe the addiction is. And for the symptoms, they vary. They might include weight loss, muscle gain, frequent injuries, insomnia, or it might not even show that this person has sports addiction. And just like drug addiction, there are withdrawal symptoms in sports addiction, because once we do sports, chemicals known as dopamine and endorphins, they are released in our body and go to the brain, where they activate the reward region. So we feel happy and relaxed, which we call it euphoria. And once we stop doing sports, we will experience withdrawal symptoms, we become irritable, anxious, and restless. So finally, for the treatment, we can do cognitive behavioral therapy or dual diagnosis treatment, because sometimes it can co-occur with another disorder, as I said before, to treat this condition. Thank you so much for listening, and please feel free to unmute yourselves if you have any question or type it in the chat. Thank you, Dr. Zena. Thank you, Laila. Abdullah, Mary, Shadi, Khalid. Thank you, Leah, Sola. Thank you, Christy. Thank you, Mom. Okay, guys. I'm glad Leah has motivated you, and Shakib too. Okay, guys, thank you again for watching. I'm gonna end the meeting since no one has any question. And thank you again.